There are seasons in the life of a believer when God appears silent concerning your life, your destiny, your family, your calling, and your future. And this silence is not punishment, abandonment, or divine neglect, but a powerful spiritual process ordained by God. Because the season of God's silence is a season of preparation, alignment, protection, and destiny construction, where heaven is actively working even when you hear nothing. And many people today are praying, fasting, sowing, attending vigils, serving faithfully, yet wondering why God has not spoken clearly, not realizing that every time God is silent, it means first that he is working on the vessel, because revealing destiny to an unprepared vessel is a waste, and God is more committed to who you are becoming than what you are asking him to give you. Just as Jesus himself experienced 30 years of divine silence, where scripture records no audible instructions from heaven, yet during that silence he increased in wisdom, stature, and favor with God and man, according to Luke 2:52, proving that silence is not inactivity but development. And every time God withholds revelation, it is because the version of you required to execute that revelation is still under construction, meaning your responsibility is silence, is not frustration, but frustration, not impatience, but training. Because destiny does not start when God speaks. Destiny starts when God builds. And Joseph's life is a clear demonstration that silence does not mean absence of God, but presence of divine orchestration. Because after receiving one dream, Joseph entered a long season of silence, filled with betrayal, pit, slavery, false accusation, and prison. Yet at no point was he outside God's will, even though nothing made sense, teaching us that confusion does not cancel divine guidance, and pain does not equal divine rejection. Heaven remained silent because God was shaping endurance. Characters was shaping endurance. Characters, humility, leadership, and wisdom that could not be downloaded by prophecy. And when the silence finally ended, it did not come as a whisper, but as a royal summons. Because when God ends seasons, he speaks in majesty, compressing years of waiting into one moment of elevation, promotion, restoration. And compensation, turning prisoners into prime ministers over never, proving that what you think you lost during silence was never lost, but stored, delayed, and multiplied. And when God finally speaks, battles that once seemed important suddenly become unnecessary. Enemies lose relevance. Explanations become irrelevant. And vindication comes with Taiwan, spiritual accusers, and beyond working on you. God's silence also means he is working on other factors, people, timing, systems, and connections required for your destiny to function, and connections required for your destiny to function, and connections required for your destiny to function, and connection required for your destiny to function, and connection is function, and connection required. Since the will of God is never dependent on one person alone, but on divine synergy, as seen in Mary and Elizabeth, whose the late pregnancies were orchestrated so that John the Baptist and Jesus would align perfectly in purpose and timing, proving that sometimes your delay is not about you, but about someone else catching up spiritually, emotionally, or position. And God will keep you waiting until every required piece is in place. Because premature arrival can destroy divine assignment. And furthermore, God's silence also means he is fighting unseen battles and clearing pasture, removing future obstacles, cantinate plots, and clearing passion battles, and call for the time of cantinate and pasture, removing pasture with. Because when the enemy cannot stop your destiny, he programs traps ahead. And God, in his mercy, suspends movement while he dismantles opposition, as seen when Jesus was hidden in Egypt until Herod died, showing that silence can be divine protection, not denial. Suffolk Adon, dot over critical moment and dot denial. And many believers unknowingly complain about delays that save them from destruction, heartbreak, tragedy, and irreversible loss. Meaning gratitude during silence is wisdom. Patience is power, And waiting builds compassion, depth, responsibility, and reverence for destiny results. Because blessings that come without pain are often mishandled, but blessings that come after endurance are stewarded with maturity. And this is why insisting on your own timing, pushing those God has not authorized, or forcing movement without clarity is dangerous. Because it is possible to wrestle with God and win temporarily, but every time your will overrides God's will, you endanger your future and invite consequences that require mercy to repair. And this generation's pressure to prove success quickly has driven many into error, compromise, and counterfeit breakthroughs, forgetting that timing is as important as instruction, because the word go and the word go now are not the same as important as instruction. Because the word go now and the word go now are not the same as important as instruction. Because the word go now are not the same as important as instruction. Because the word go now and the word go now, and one day early or one day late, can corrupt an entire journey. Therefore, the silence of God must be interpreted with spiritual intelligence, humility, and trust, knowing that when you love the Lord, all things work together for your good. And if your love remains intact, you can rest the neck do. Because God is too powerful to allow sincere obedience to miss destiny, as he will remove wrong doors and redirect right paths, ensuring that even your mistakes are woven into purpose. And the ultimate lesson of divine silence is this: God is never late, never confused, never inactive, never careless with destiny, and never silent without reason. And when the season of silence ends, it will not come with struggle, but with authority, acceleration, restoration, multiplication, overtaking grace, and undeniable favor, turning years of waiting into moments of fulfillment, proving that the silence of God is not an enemy, but an advantage, not a delay, but a setup, not abandonment, but divine intelligence at work for your glory.